All right, so Fired Up Fridays is now Fired Up Freedom. I just want to do a little bit of a recap of season one. It was amazing. I had so much fun, a lot of amazing guests, a lot of great conversation. It was really, really awesome. If you're someone who wants to have a growth mindset, if you're someone who wants to take action and go towards your goals, then Fired Up Freedom is great for you. It doesn't matter if your goal is financial or personal. And now that we're moving into season two, we're going to be talking a lot of different things surrounding freedom.
All of these things are important. When we talk about marketing, which I think a lot of people mix up, those are the tools you're going to use to share your brand, your reputation, your story. A tool that if it lives on your website, it can help bring people to you and warm leads. So it really makes your sales force agile. And for me, it was really important that I enjoy my conversations and that I found people.
Well, hello there, family. You're listening to Fired Up Freedom with Steve Ryan. Fired Up Freedom. All right. Do you ever look for certain services or products and it's just hard to find and you want to know if someone else has used that before? Well, visit my resources page, steveryan.com/resources, steveryan.com/resources. Fired Up Friday is now Fired Up Freedom.
What's up? Welcome to Fired Up Friday. All right. Holly Shannon in the house. Whew. I've been looking forward to this one.
I tried to wear something that matched the fire, a little bit of orange, but I don't think I'm quite the same shade.
That's because you outshine the fire. So you're bigger than the fire,
Thank you. I love Steve.
Well, it's true. I'm just speaking the truth. That's all.
Aww,
well, everybody, this is Holly Shannon. So for whoever don't know Miss Awesomeness, the queen of podcasting in the top 2% worldwide of podcasts, warm welcome. Hey, how you doing?
Hi. Thanks for having me, Steve. This is awesome.
Sure, no problem. So if someone came up to you and said, hey, so who are you? Hey, nice to meet you. What would your response be to that?
Wow. Well, that's like a loaded one. So let's see. I am a mom, first and foremost. I have an incredible human that I've brought into this world and who continues to astound me every day. And I am a very good friend. I think that it's really important to me to hold people close to me. Not a lot of people, mind you, just the cream of the crop. I always say I collect good people, and Steve is one of them. And I could probably say a few other things, like technical things, that I used to be in the event space and boutique hospitality, and I cut my teeth in white glove, 5-star hospitality. As a jewelry designer. I am a podcaster now. I produce for brands, for businesses, podcasts to help bring them into a thought leadership space. I'm an author. And so those are just some little snippets about me. But I guess I'm a many things, and I usually say I am a Swiss Army knife in business because I just have a lot of different experiences.
I love that. I remember the Swiss Army knife. That's cool.
So which tool should I bring out? Just let me know.
So when you were thinking about that Swiss Army knife, did it just pop in your head, or did something kind of provoke that thought of like, yeah, this is.
I think because one day I was trying to explain that I have a lot of tools in my box,
Mhm.
that I come to the table with a lot of unique skill sets. And so I'm not for everybody. I am not a specialist where I just do one thing and I've done it my whole life and I do it really well. I'm the type of person that learns a lot of different things because I'm insanely curious. And then I do my best to master that thing. And I think for me, what I have found is that by doing that and being an amalgamation of a few different talents, each of them inform each other. And so, what I'd say is, it's allowed me to be good at strategy with people because I can recognize and pull from different things that I've done throughout my life and my career. I could say, oh, okay, so this is the creator side that I need to talk to with this person so that they can understand. I understand what that's like because I used to be a designer, jewelry designer, and so I know what's going through their head as an artist. And then I used to do very large trade shows and conferences, so I know the nuts and bolts and the details that go into planning something and the time that needs to be put into that. So I can talk to that side. And I used to do very high level retreats, like board level retreats. And so I know the mindset of the C suite. I understand what they're looking to achieve when they come out and spend 3 days immersed in a space. So I think that that's how I would describe myself, that I'm able to draw on a lot of different experiences and help people define what they need to do next with their life, their career, their business, whatever.
Love it. And you're this amazing podcaster. And so how did you land into the podcasting?
So that was a little bit by accident. I will say I've always loved podcasting. I'm one of those annoying friends, put my hands up here, that would text you an episode of something I listened to that I thought you had to listen to yourself, that it would help you in some way. So I was that annoying friend who was a podcast junkie. And I got into it to help a business create a pull marketing tool. As Steve knows, and as I know, and that now you're about to know, podcasting has a way of being a tool that if it lives on your website, it can help bring people to you and warm leads. So it really makes your sales force agile. It really helps the person who has the podcast be found. So it's a great tool. And so I started creating, and I created the podcast Culture Factor, and it has grown over the past couple years. It's changed over time. And in its latest iteration, I talk about NFTs and Web3 technology, where I met Steve. And what's really great about it is I've scaled it. And as Steve mentioned, it's in the top 2% and heard in over 95 countries now. And it's growing. So I'm really excited because it's a one-woman show. And I'm really proud that I was able to do that. And I think a lot of people also can do that. So that's why I'm here.
Wow. Wow, that's incredible. And so you said you landed into it by accident. So how did you learn what to do, or how to do what to do,
All right. So, there's a lot of social audio apps out now, and people are learning things different ways. When I started to learn 2 years ago, that was not available. Twitter Spaces didn't exist. And so I went to YouTube University and Google University, and I tripped and fell and pushed. And, I was like a bull in a china shop, and I figured things out, and I took really good notes. And I built it in 3 weeks and started off with 4 episodes and just, did my best to improve from episode 1 to where I am now, which is over 100 episodes. And one day I literally thought I was going to lose the podcast. And so I went back to my notes and I rewrote them to myself so that I could do it again and again. And when I was done, I realized that it was not a how-to guide to Holly Shannon. It was a step-by-step manual for everyone. And so I created my book, Zero to Podcast, shameless plug all.
Yay.
And thank you. I was very proud of it because not only because I had launched a podcast doing this methodology, but I was able to distill down all the information quickly in 60 pages. And you don't have to be technically proficient. You can be how I was when I started, which was technically inept because I'd never launched a podcast. And I was just really excited to share it because I felt like, if you didn't know how to edit, here was a quick chapter on it. If you didn't know the tools you needed, here's a quick chapter on it. And I tried to, because I have a background in writing about content, it was really important for me to create something that was really concise, like really clean and concise, not embellished and full of all kinds of ideals and motivational speaking. I wanted it to be like, this is what you need to do. Step 1, 2, 3. And so I did it in 60 pages. So it made it accessible to people. Like people don't have a lot of time, right? And I wanted to save them the hours that I spent in YouTube University trying to figure it all out. So that's how the book was born. And I'm proud that it's helped a lot of people get there. And I have a lot of Zero to Podcast alumni now and successful podcasters. And I'm pretty excited because I actually just started a line of merchandise on my website. If you go to the store, you'll see that once you get the book and you hire me, whichever way you want to do it, there is a hat now that you can get. And on the front, it says Zero to Podcast. And on the back, it says alum and podcaster.
Wow.
So I'm hoping more people can wear that hat proudly, whether they do it themselves, the DIY version by getting the book, or they have me do it for them.
Wow. Love it. Wow. And so with your podcasting, how did you grow it from zero to podcast, which is zero to this top 2%?
So that is a lot of work. I'm not going to lie. I don't like to be one of those people that say it's so easy. Just start the podcast and hit go. As you and I know, there's a lot of elements that go into it. What I would say is don't get caught up in the details. Go ahead and start it and press go, right? Just press the shiny red button. Just get the mic. Don't overthink everything. But it does take time to grow it. And Steve and I both know that. We've talked at length about, building influence, if you will, on social media and building a community through your podcast and through social media. And it takes time. So when I started, I had a big social media presence on 4 different social apps. And in time, I also did social audio apps. And it takes time. You have to be prepared to put content up on a regular basis and let everybody come along for the ride and learn about the different people that you have the gift of interviewing. You have to spend the time engaging with them when they ask questions or they DM you on social media. You have to really be a part of the journey. If they're going to be your community, you have to be there 100% for them. You can't show up once a week and decide to answer a DM that came in 2 weeks prior. Like, you'll lose the interest of those people. So you have to stay present and you have to stay relevant and you have to be able to pivot when you find that maybe what you've been sharing isn't quite hitting the mark. So you have to be ready to to iterate on what you do, and maybe even sometimes rebrand what you're doing if you feel like the audience is looking for you to grow in another direction. So it takes time. You have to be patient.
Wow. Love it. Well, we're going to take a short commercial break and we'll be right back.
Fired Up Friday is now Fired Up Freedom. Do you ever have moments where you feel stress, anxiety, or it's hard to sleep? Then meditation may be the perfect thing to help you. Come and join our meditation channel where there's 24 hours a day on-demand meditation music. It's time to have freedom from the noise.
All right, we're back. And you were just talking about like people rebranding and things. And I know we've talked about doing like a marketing branding, informational type of thing. But could we touch on it just briefly? Just when you say rebranding, what is a brand in your opinion?
So, I think a lot of people get caught up in terminology. We've been talking about marketing, rebranding, and personal branding. Like, there's just a lot of terms out there. And I think at the end of the day, you need to understand that branding is sort of new packaging, and it really stands for your reputation. And it's important that you give yourself in the places where people will find you, and in this case it might be social media, but you always want to keep in check what your reputation is about, like what you want people to know about you. An overused word, authenticity, but you do want to bring I'll use a different word, your genuine self to the table, and you want to be able to build on your reputation. You want to be honest. You want to be available to a certain extent. All of these things are important. When we talk about marketing, which I think a lot of people mix up, those are the tools you're going to use to share your brand, your reputation, your story, your history, what you want to do for people, and how you present yourself. So that might be my shorter answer on that.
I'm sure we're going to have some in-depth conversations with that, because those were some nice gems. And so when you're going back to your podcast, like when it comes to selecting who you would like to be on the show, like, do you have a certain criteria? Like, how do you know, like, this person's the right fit?
So I love this question for so many reasons, because I think that you have to decide what you want, who you want to interview, and why. And you can enlist an army of podcast agents, and you can enlist an army of PR people to share with you who they think are the best people to have on there. But they generally have an agenda, and they're being paid to put certain people in front of you. And for me, it was really important that I enjoy my conversations, and that I found people from my own research, and that I cared about the story that they were telling. So I would say I really curate who I bring on, and it's worked to my benefit. I'm not saying that I never bring on somebody that a podcast agent or a PR agent has brought to the table, because I have had a few that work hard at doing that right. But I do carefully curate, and I read so many newsletters, and I read a lot of news, and I'm on LinkedIn, and I'm listening in social media, and I'm showing up on social audio apps, and I'm listening to what people are saying, and I'm watching them over time, that their story and their ideas are consistent. And I'm doing my best to sit in rooms and find those genuine people that are sitting in there, and not just, faking it kind of thing. There's people who are really honest that you want to get to know, like, immediately, like there's just something about them. They have that it factor. So I work really hard. So I will say that probably 85 to 90% of the people I've had on my show, I've handpicked. And that was really, really important to me. And I think it's why my show has also been successful because I actually care about who I bring on, and I do all of the research on them, as well as choosing them. So after I choose them and they send me their bio, I go and I scrape LinkedIn profiles, Twitter. I look at their influence. I listen to them. I listen to podcasts they've been on. I'll read articles. I'll see where they're speaking. I'm a well-informed host. When they come on, I know their background and what they've done. I don't shoot from the hip. I just don't. Where I do shoot from the hip is when I'm interviewing them, if they go into something that I think is really a critical component to who they are at the heart, or how they create, or where their business shifted, and I think it's an important point, I will improv at that point. And that's where I think a lot of magic happens, but it only happens because I do the research first and I'm able to iterate with them. And sometimes, like I said, the magic is there. You know, my favorite quote is "Luck favors the prepared," and it's from a cartoon, The Incredibles. And the character, she said, luck favors the prepared. And it's true. I'm always prepared. And sometimes I get lucky and I see where the magic is in the interview, and I can go off the cuff because I was prepared in the first place.
Wow. And I'm just looking at your LinkedIn profile. It's incredible.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's pretty cool. So your LinkedIn profile is linkedin.com/n/Holly Shannon 1.
Number
so
one.
That's awesome.
Or
Number
the
one.
only one. The only Holly Shannon.
And are you on? I know you're on Twitter as well.
Yes.
You know, what would you say is your not trying to make this a loaded question. By the way, speaking of loaded question, what's your definition of loaded question?
You can throw anything at me. I'm a pretty honest person, and I don't mind loaded questions. Like, I'd rather all right, so here's one of my mottos, okay?
Mhm.
I am, and you can quote me on this. I believe in going a mile deep versus a mile wide. So
I got you. Love it.
bring it.
Love it.
Bring it.
A mile deep versus a mile wide. So, wow. So I'm looking at your Twitter profile, which I'm bringing up here, and it's really, really cool. You know, you have Holly Shannon Culture Factor, top 2% global rank. I love how you word this, even though it's short, it's very effective. Producing the hottest podcasts for newbies on NFTs, crypto, blockchain, Web3, metaverse. Ooh, you're speaking at NFT NYC. I see you there. All right.
Yes.
And collecting good people. Love it.
Mhm.
Which leads us to another thing, which is, how did you get into NFTs and crypto, and how did you even land there?
Okay, so we talked about rebranding and iterating. So actually, it's a perfect question because it lets me dovetail that piece of our conversation. And so when I started my show, the conversation was about company culture from the C-suite. And there's a famous saying called "culture eats strategy for breakfast." And that's where my show began. And then at about episode 25, I realized that I should say the show started during COVID. So what's also started as a pilot conversation of company culture from the C-suite during COVID, we're still in it. So it really changed the way things looked, and all of a sudden everybody was home, right? So by episode 25, I realized that culture was not just coming from the C-suite anymore, because there wasn't really a visible C-suite. We were all working from our kitchens, and emerging leaders were coming into the picture and also shaping culture because it had to be reshaped. We were just all doing business differently. And I felt that the conversation was inadequate if I only interviewed the C-suite. So that's where it kind of shifted. And then after about a year and a half of talking about company culture, I realized that there were 3 very clear paths that the show was taking. One was mental health, because there was a lot of people who were burning out from working at home. And the other was DEI, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion. And the third was the gig economy because of the great resignation that was happening and all the people were furloughed. So in talking about company culture, those 3 things just kept coming up, and I didn't know how to split the show out 3 ways. And I knew I couldn't be all of those things to everybody. And I felt I couldn't continue the conversation about mental health because I wasn't a therapist and I didn't want to trigger people. And I felt that I couldn't carry the conversation about diversity, equity, and inclusion because I wasn't in the HR space and I didn't understand all of the corporate laws and things that were going into that conversation. And then the third piece was, I've been a 3-time entrepreneur. I have been a part of the gig economy. I do understand that. And I felt that I needed to shift the show that direction. And when we talk gig economy, we're talking creators. And when we're talking creators, we're now getting into an area where we're talking about NFT artists. We're talking about building out communities on Discord channels. We're talking about a lot of different, like, new technology that is emerging because people are working from home now and they're learning how to code and they're learning how to become an artist and they're learning how to market in Web3. And it was all this new stuff happening, and that excited me. And so I rebranded the show to take that direction because I felt that I could support that conversation and I could also help bring some strategy to the table because I've been in both worlds. And I've been an artist and I've been in marketing Web 2.0. And so it made sense for me to carry the show this direction. And as I say to anybody who's starting a podcast, you have to be curious or your show will fall flat. People will be able to tell that you're not really part of the conversation.
Wow. I love that. People will be able to tell that you're not part of the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
That was Jim.
Mm-hmm. Right?
So,
we can tell when
wow.
people are faking it, right?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
You definitely can.
And guess what? Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
No, you go.
I was going to say it's real obvious. And one of the things that I say to people is, like, if they just be still and just listen, like, listen to people's actions, not their words, but their actions. You can tell.
Mm-hmm.
You can definitely tell. And even with the words, you know, if you're hearing them, is certain tones that they're, but if you're not hearing them, let's say it's just through messaging, you have to just kind of go on your gut instincts, you know, those spidey senses that says something's off.
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head. And if I could put an exclamation point at the end of that, what I would say is you can tell when people are faking it till they make it. And then you can tell those who are making it till they make it. And Steve, you're one of those people. I watch you make stuff all day long. You learn, you iterate, you surround yourself with people that help you understand things better. You're not faking anything. You're out there making stuff. And that's how you make good things. That's how you build, and that's how you understand how things work. If you fake it till you make it, then you're just out there on the internet, on social audio or on social media, trying to talk the talk. And guess what? We can tell that you're not genuine, and we can also tell that you don't know what you're doing. You're just trying to sound like you do. So there's a difference.
Exactly.
Go out there and make stuff. You'll figure it out.
Love it. Wow. I feel like we could dive so much deeper, but I think it's been a great so far. Did you have any final words of wisdom to depart? Oh, Queen of Podcasts. I love that. I love that. That's your TikTok handle,
It
Queen
is.
of Podcasts.
It is. It is. I don't have a big presence on there yet, but Steve is moving me that direction. So please come follow me there, even if I don't have a ton of content yet. I'm hopefully going to really like put some time into that space. It's I know that it's a fun platform. I do enjoy watching on it more than I do creating on it. So that's my problem. I sit there and scroll with the rest of the world. I'm like, oh my God, these people are so talented. I just keep scrolling. I'm like, what am I gonna do on here?
Wow, I love that. You're just gonna keep scrolling and keep scrolling and keep scrolling and keep scrolling.
I can't help it. We all do it.
Yeah, scroll up, scroll down. Wow. Well, this has been a pleasure. I can't wait to do some more very soon. So this is going to be awesome, 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 awesome sauce. All right. Thank you so much, Holly. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Steve. I really appreciate this. And I hope we can cook up some more awesome sauce. So.
Oh, we will. Well, this wraps it up for Fired Up Friday. All right.
Running from myself at times I can't describe the words I try.